So you log into Klaviyo and you're hit with numbers everywhere. Revenue, open rates, click rates, placed order rates, flow performance, campaign performance. It's overwhelming. And most store owners either ignore the dashboard completely or they obsess over the wrong metrics. They're staring at vanity numbers while the stuff that actually matters is tanking. Well, here's the truth. You don't need to understand every single metric. You just need to know which numbers actually move the needle, what good looks like, and when something is broken. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through exactly how to read your Klaviyo dashboard. No fluff, just the metrics that actually matter, what they should look like, and what to do when they're off. All right, let's get into it. So the only metrics that matter, and these are the ones that we're gonna be focusing on in today's video, is number 1, revenue attribution, number 2, open rate, number 3, click rate, number 4, place order rate, which is the same thing as conversion rate. Number 5, unsubscribe rate. Number 6, spam complaint rate. And then number 7, bounce rate, right? So some of these are more positive associated metrics that you're going to be tracking. And then some of these are going to be more, negative metrics like unsubscribe, spam, bounce rate. So aside from these metrics, everything else is literally secondary and you don't need to pay attention to that. By the way, I have a free resource in the description of this video. It's 126 pages long, but you guys are going to love this because it literally breaks down each and every single element of email marketing, breaking down like over 30, 40 different email design examples, flow in detail, campaigns in detail, literally everything you need to know about email marketing in 2026. First things first, I want to show you where to find your dashboard. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to log into Klaviyo as you usually would, and you're going to go to the home page. So if you click on home right here, you'll see the dashboard right here. So the main thing that the main sort of North Star dashboard that we'll look at is the business performance summary. And typically, I like to sort this by the last 30 days because that shows us the most recent data. So the way that this works, right, is that you'll see this is the total revenue that was generated from Shopify, and then this is the attributed revenue. So out of that, in this example, out of the 242,000, 156,000 of that is attributed through the Klaviyo account. So those are the two things that I would look at: how much revenue is being generated total, and how much of that is coming from email. The main thing that you want to do is look at revenue attribution, right? So what is revenue attribution exactly? So it's the percentage of how much of your total revenue is being attributed through your Klaviyo account and your Klaviyo emails. Again, I showed you how to find it. It's going to be on your home dashboard. What you want to look at is the percentage, right? This percentage right here, attributed revenue percentage. In this case, it's 64%. What I wanted to show you was the goal, right? So the goal is 25 to 40% of total revenue from email. That's kind of the benchmark that I try to shoot for when I work with brands, 25 to 40%. A lot of times it's a lot higher than that. Sometimes, 50, 60, in the case that I showed you in this example, it's actually 64%, but at a bare minimum, 25 to 40%. So if you're looking at your account right now, and I want you to pull this up as I'm kind of walking through this video, if you're below 20%, your email program is simply underperforming, right? There's probably, low-hanging fruit on the flows, probably not sending enough campaigns, probably using the wrong strategy in general. And if you're above 40%, I would say that things are going really, really well. You probably have some room for improvement to get to 50%, but in general, I would say that you're doing pretty well. So to sum that up, your target revenue from email is going to be anywhere from 25 to 40%. Now, metric number 2 is going to be your open rate, right? So what it is it's the percentage of recipients who've actually opened your email. And the way that you're going to find it is you're going to be going into your campaign reports or even your flow analytics. So the benchmarks for flows in terms of open rate is 40 to 60% is where you want to aim for, which is considered good. Anything above 60% is considered really, really good. I consider it excellent, right, on the flows. On the campaign side of things, I would say 40 to 50% is considered good, and anything above 50% is considered excellent. So just to show you an example, I'll show you the example of like some campaigns. So if you're looking at your campaign performance, right, you'll see the email performance in the last 30 days. You'll see the average open rate. So this is the average open rate of campaigns that were sent over the last 30 days. So this, you want it to be between 40 to 50%, I would say. Again, anything above 50% is considered extremely good. And I would even say, if you're above 60%, 70%, you probably have room to so expand the number of people that you're sending emails to. So that way you can reach a broader audience in sacrifice of actually lowering your open rate, as long as your open rates are, between that 40 to 50% case. We're at a 64% open rate with this client over the last 30 days. And you can actually see as well, through all these metrics, Klaviyo actually tells you how you are doing compared to your competitors and other people in your industry. So this is compared to your peer group's average over the last 3 months. So in this case, it's considered excellent. Klaviyo has different reporting sort of levels. So for example, it could be poor, it could be good, it could be excellent, things like that. So this is what you also want to pay attention to as well. But the main thing is the actual percentage itself. So 40 to 50% open rates is what you want to aim for on your campaigns. Just some warning signs to look out for. If you're below 15% on campaigns, you definitely have a deliverability issue, or likely also bad subject lines as well. And you're probably just, in that case, you're probably targeting the wrong people. Like your segments are off as well in terms of who you're sending the emails to. And likely a lot of your emails are probably landing in spam, which leads back to deliverability. If you also see a drop in your open rates, you just check your spam placement, because it's likely that a lot of people are marking your emails as spam, and it's hurting your deliverability. 3 is click rate, right? So what is a click rate? So the click rate is a percentage of recipients, so people that have received an email who have actually clicked any sort of link in your email, whether that be the logo, call to action button, product image, whatever. If they click a link, that's considered to be a percentage of those recipients. So where to find it? Again, same thing, campaign reports. Right here, the average click rate is 3.08%. This is actually up 1.7% since the previous 30 days. So that's where you'll find the click rate in terms of the campaigns over the last 30 days. Again, you can also dig into like the dashboards and metrics to see like what that historically looks like over the course of 90 days, 120 days, 6 months, etc. Let me actually show you. Go back to the open rates right here. So 40 to 60% on the flows is considered good. So take into account this first welcome email here. We're seeing a 62% open rate, which is considered excellent in terms of open rate. And then going back into the click rate, 3 to 6% is considered good, and 6% is considered excellent. So if we go back into this flow, we're seeing a 10.5% click rate. So that's considered excellent in terms of the flows. And then if we look at the campaigns, I would say 1 to 3% is good and 3% is excellent. So if we go into the campaign 0.08%, which is considered excellent, not every campaign really warrants, people clicking on the email. Like you could be sending an email, just kind of educational, like blog style type of email, just giving tips and tricks about, your product. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're asking people to click onto your website. It's more of just like a value-based email. So in those cases, your click-through rate is obviously going to be a lot lower, but in general, like a mixture of all value-based emails and promotional-based emails too, you want to see a 1 to 3% click rate. And ideally, if you're above 3%, that's considered really good. If you're below 1%, your content or your CTAs just aren't compelling, and maybe even like your segments aren't appropriate for the type of content that you're sending. Segment out your audience based off of specific behaviors or user actions, that sort of thing. High opens and low clicks just means that your subject line is good, but your email content needs work, right? And then metric number 4 is your placed order rate, right? So what it is a percentage of recipients who've placed an order after receiving the email. And just to show you where to find this, if you go here into show analytics, you'll see open rate, click rate, place order rate this is how you find it for the flows. And you can also see how many emails have been delivered. This is in the last 30 days. So place order rate is at 9.1%, and it's generated over $5,000 in the last 30 days. But what to look for in terms of the flows is a 1 to 3% placed order rate. That would be considered solid. Anything above a 3% placed order rate would be considered really, really good and excellent. As you can see in this scenario, we're at a 9.1% placed order rate. And then in terms of the campaigns, you want to see 5% place order. And in the campaigns right here, we're seeing around a 5.74% place order rate, which is considered excellent. So these are just kind of like your minimum benchmarks right here that you need to be hitting. Anything over that is just kind of icing on the cake. What affects this, by the way, is offer strength, the audience targeting, product market fit, and also the timing of the emails as well. Like I said, in like a blog style article email or like a very, very value driven type of email, your place order rate might not necessarily be the highest, but on a, like, let's say like a promotional based email, you'll definitely notice your place order rate is higher because you're definitely like, you're selling in that email and you're asking for the sale. And so it makes sense for your place order rate to be higher there. Metric number 5, kind of getting into like the negative metrics and things that to look for there. And this is kind of more related to, deliverability and making sure your email's landing in the primary inbox and make sure that your customers and your subscribers are happy, is the unsubscribe rate. That's going to be metric number 5. So what that is that it's a percentage of recipients who unsubscribed after receiving the email, right? And the way that you're going to be able to find that is if you go over to the deliverability section right here, and we're looking at the deliverability score. This is based on the last 30 days of data. So the benchmarks is that under 0.3% is considered healthy, is you want to monitor it closely. And then above 0.5, it's a problem. So unsubscribe rates, that's what you want to kind of look at there. In this case, for the unsubscribe rate, we're at a 0.76%. So definitely could use a little bit of work there. And that's something that we're actively working on. But that's kind of that's definitely what you want to shoot for. So under 0.3% is the goal for us. Warning signs, seeing spikes after specific campaigns. That means that the content missed the mark. And if your unsubscribe rate is consistently high, you're basically just emailing too often or to the wrong people. So that's kind of what to look out for with the unsubscribe rate. Metric number 6 is the spam complaint rate. So this is actually really, really critical because spam complaints hurt your sender reputation. Too many equals that emails are going to spam, one bad campaign can damage deliverability for weeks. So what this is specifically is it's a percentage of recipients who marked your email as spam. And the same thing, where to find it is a deliverability tab under campaign reports. The benchmark is you want to shoot for under 0.%. We're slightly above that, 0.02%. We're not too far off, but that's something that can definitely be improved. We want to get to a 0.01% in terms of the spam complaint rate. And then above 0.1%, you start running into issues. And so definitely something to look at. So yeah, definitely want to make sure that you are making sure that you are not sending too many emails, because I think sending too many emails can also lead into spam, people complaining spam, and yeah, people just unhappy that they're receiving too many emails and then getting upset and then marking you as spam. So metric number 7 is the bounce rate. So what this is the percentage of people that have received emails that could not be delivered, right? And so the way to find this is if you go to, again, back to the score, you can see the bounce rate here is at 0.33%, which is considered excellent. For this, you want to make sure that it's under 1 to 2% in general. Above 2, you want to start cleaning your list and making sure that you're actively looking at the segments that you're actually sending these emails to. The hard bounce, and there's also the soft bounce. So the hard bounce just means the email doesn't, and then there's also a soft bounce. So the soft bounce is more of like a temporary issue. Maybe their inbox is full, or maybe the server is down. There's a few different reasons why an email might soft bounce. The good news though is that if an email does hard bounce, like if you send an email to someone, like a campaign to someone whose email does not exist. Anyways, I have a separate video on how to do that and what segments need to be suppressed every single month. But yeah, these are the two different types of bounces. And again, looking at the benchmarks, under 2% would be considered healthy, and above 2% means that you need to clean your list and look at the segments that you're actually sending to. So last but not least, in performance, here's what you need to check, right? Revenue generated, the open rate should be 40% plus, click rate should be 3% plus, and you also need to look at your conversion rate as well. And another thing too is you should compare flows against each other, right? Typically, and I've audited a lot of Klaviyo accounts, your welcome series should be hands down your number one highest performer, just because of the sheer amount of traffic that's getting into it. Coming in at a close second, it should be your abandoned checkout and your abandoned cart. Those should definitely have strong conversion, because we're capturing a lot of people that have a very, very high intent with your brand and your products and your business. They've literally, they've gone so far as to add an item to their cart or even initiated a checkout. So at this point, you really need to be, converting with that flow. And if you find that a flow is underperforming, meaning they're not hitting any of these metrics, then what I would look at is dig into the actual individual emails and identify, there might be some emails, like the first couple of emails that are performing really well, and then email 3, 4, and 5, they might not be performing as well. So that point, you can look at, replacing those emails, A/B testing them with different content, subject lines, etc. And really, that's kind of the name of the game when it comes to optimizing your flow performance, is constantly looking at performance, making sure that everything is, hitting and succeeding your metrics, and making sure to kind of, tweak things and make sure you're improving things over time, because that's what's overall going to impact the entire overall email performance, right? At the beginning of this, I showed you this dashboard. The things that make up this such high performance, 156,000 over 242,000 is everything combined, right? We're not just looking at, obviously this is a great overview, but it's each and every single campaign and each and every single flow and all the different emails that we have that are combined to give you this type of result. And, these are the different things that you need to be tracking in order to see that type of performance. And, this is why it's so critical. As far as the campaign performance go, what to check there? Revenue generated, obviously, that's kind of our North Star metric. Obviously, you could have a slightly lower open rate than what you'd like, but if it's generating revenue, that's kind of the main thing that matters, and you're getting that ROI. But open rate, 40% is considered very good. Plus, click rate, 1% plus is good. Unsubscribe rate, you want to get that under 0.3%. And then you also want to compare campaigns over time, right? Open rates trending up, or are they trending down? Which subject lines perform the best? Maybe some subject lines that have emojis or, urgency baked into it, maybe those perform better, and you want to kind of leverage that moving forward. Which content actually drove the most clicks? And then kind of want to double down on that and figure out what is your audience resonating and gravitating towards specifically, because every brand and every audience is different. And so you need to understand who your audience is, what content they're resonating with, and then double down on it. And that's something that my team and I always do, is we always make sure to look back at campaigns and flows and just emails that we've sent over the last 30, 60, 90 days, seeing what's resonating and then doubling down on what's working, right? And just a bonus hack, if you see that like an evergreen campaign, like a non-promotional campaign has knocked it out of the park for your performance, like it's a value-driven campaign that's performed really well, it reached all the metrics that we talked about here, and the revenue was also really, really great as well, go ahead and save that as a template and bake that into one of your flows, whether it's like your welcome series, abandoned checkout, browse abandonment, wherever it makes sense to. And, the benefit of that is people that are going through these flows are going to be able to actually see that campaign email that you sent out previously, right? Because a lot of times, You could have really good performing campaigns, new people that are joining your campaigns because those campaigns were just a one-time send that maybe you sent 3 months ago. But if you leverage that campaign, you can put them back into your flows and they'll be able to see that campaign. It's going to perform really well too, because it's historically performed well. And the great news is that you really don't have to like do anything different. You put the work into designing and creating the copy for that campaign. You just need to obviously maybe change the subject line just to switch things up, but that's another like kind of bonus tweak to improve the performance of your flows. Last but not least, just the warning signs dashboard. Check these metrics regularly, and if you see any, then you want to act fast, right? Open rate below 15%, deliverability problem. Spam complaints above 0.1%, stop and investigate. Bounce rate above 2%, go ahead and clean your list. Unsubscribe rate spiking, review your recent sends. And revenue dropping, check flow performance and send frequency, right? So in this video, we talked about a few different things, but again, the focus should be on the 7 key metrics. And that's it. You now know how to read your Klaviyo dashboard and which metrics actually matter. And if you're watching this thinking, I'd rather just have someone handle all of this for me from A to Z on your Klaviyo account, that's literally what I do for a living. So I put a link in the description to book in a call directly with me. Happy to have a conversation with you to see, what you guys are currently doing with your email marketing, see if there's anything that I can do to help. And, even if we don't work together, I'm sure that there's tons of actionable strategies that you can implement in your account right now to see a noticeable increase in your email marketing revenue. So hope this video was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.